it is one of the most confusing Liverpool seasons I think that, at least in recent memory, Liverpool fans have had. It is perplexing in the way that Liverpool are performing right now. And there are so many weird conclusions that you can pull. It is a strange and unusual season, though I'd imagine Liverpool have had a lot more treacherous seasons in their entire history as a club, at least within living memory. If you're 20, then this is probably one of the more frustrating seasons. Though people will often remind you, and maybe fairly enough, of bad times in Liverpool's recent history. But none of that justifies what happened against Real Madrid this evening. What I can say about, and what I can weirdly say about Liverpool's scoreline tonight is, a huge scoreline for the first time felt very telling about this Liverpool side. In the past, Liverpool have been one of these teams that when they concede a lot of goals, you can imagine that Jurgen Klopp goes back in, picks the team back up, turns things around and says, you know what? You know, you're going to have those kind of games, off games. But this team is a team which is going through a very public change right now and has been going through a public change for the entirety of the season. The performance, whilst Real Madrid were brilliant in the second half, and I thought their control was fantastic, was not up to standard. And I think that's fair enough to say. It's a fair criticism when you lose 5-2 at home to say that the overall performance was not up to standard. The reaction to Liverpool is also so reactionary, though. And at the moment, when you see Liverpool score goals early on, wow, look what they're doing, it's incredible. Then when they get taken apart at the other end, or there is a mistake or whatever it is, oh, they're getting out, these guys are getting beasted by this side. And that it probably isn't helpful to the overall discourse. So I'd imagine there are a lot of people in there who don't have a vested interest in how good or bad Liverpool are. A lot of those people speaking about the team are probably speaking with hyperbole or some form of parody as to what's actually going on. But it shows a complete lack of control as to where Liverpool are at. It shows that there is a lack of structure at times during this Liverpool season, and there is also a lack of structure within the side which gives them parity with other teams. In previous seasons, the control that Liverpool wanted, especially when they were getting those results that were just keeping them chugging along to the finals, 3 finals, 1 season, 1 point behind Man City, was exactly what Liverpool wanted. But you could see there was vulnerability within the team, that there was not a decline of sorts, but the beginning of a change at Liverpool, where you could see that confidence was changing, you could see this side were, moving along. But I didn't even really believe when Jurgen Klopp said, hey, Istanbul, book your tickets, book your hotel. I thought, that's kind of a strange thing to say. And it was the first time I really heard something Jurgen Klopp said and thought that felt slightly out of character there. Now, maybe there are a lot of things that are happening that are out of character for Liverpool this season, but we can go into that at some point. But the lack of structure is down to a couple of things, and some of that can lead to brilliance. But the structure that Liverpool started with was the thing that took Madrid out. The structure, the pressing, all the good things that Liverpool were doing was exactly what you want to do against Madrid. And then you got a fantastic finish against from Darwin Núñez against Courtois. Beautiful flick. And that is exactly what Liverpool fans are wanting from Darwin Núñez. A decisive strike in one game. He goes down injured and then a brilliant touch in the next. Those 2 goals were fantastic. If that can come more consistently and it's not just a brilliant moment per game, then great. I'll talk about Darwin's involvement in the game a little bit later, because there's a lot more to Darwin Núñez than I think he probably gets credit for. Then you got the Salah goal. That is purely down to Liverpool pressing. That's purely down to the effort. That's down to confusing the opposition, the disorienting environment of Anfield. And frankly, I think Madrid being slightly overawed by the situation, maybe not having their head in the game or expecting Liverpool to start that strongly. Now, that's cool. But you've got to hold on to that then. You have to play and build on that. And so often this season, I put it down to confidence, I put it down to structure, Liverpool haven't been building on the advantages that they've worked so hard for so early on or so late on in games. And so Vinicius was able to wriggle his way into the box and have a brilliant moment. That first goal was just sublime. And then the second goal was actually quite fortunate if you think about it. I mean, Alisson with a lapse in judgment, a lapse in whatever you want to call it, a lapse in concentration possibly, or just a lapse in where is my structure. Bear in mind, I think that's happened twice now, that the ball going out towards that right side of defence has been closed down by a striker this season and resulted in a goal. I can't remember what the other one was, but it was a strange moment for Alisson, a strange moment for Liverpool. Anyway, Vinicius got them back into it. And at that point, you're sort of thinking, okay, just get a foot on the ball. There's a tie here still to be won. There's still probably 135 minutes from that point, probably. But the right side of that defence, the right side of Liverpool in the second half looked so different to the way that it looked in the first half that you could see how exposed Joe Gomez was. You could see that Hendo and Trent Alexander-Arnold were trying to get Liverpool back into the game. But there were times where they sacrificed position, they sacrificed what they knew Liverpool are getting good at, and some of the things that Liverpool have gone back to rather than progressed with from like previous seasons, from previous Klopp structures, that they didn't give up on, but we just didn't see as much of. And sometimes that's confusing because you think, some of that was working really well. Why have you stopped doing that? And so you get Joe Gomez exposed. And then those mistakes are magnified by a magnitude of so much in the Champions League because the quality is so high. Huge issues with big mistakes and unfortunate moments. I think the positive, if you're a Liverpool fan, is you have to respect the mentality of Joe Gomez. You have to respect his mental fortitude to continue to go on. To have similar things happen in the Napoli game in the first group, the first group game for Liverpool earlier on this season. Was it first? Yeah, it was the first game, I think. That is mental fortitude for Joe Gomez. To be taken off, to have that humiliating performance, or what would be quite a humbling, I'd say, performance, if not humiliating, because I feel that's maybe a harsh word. And then to be able to continue to attack, to show moments of kind of grace and bringing the ball forward, to show moments of, you know, a mind being there, a footballing brain, which is actually switched on in a game where you think so many people around the stadium are reeling. I think that's positive. But again, maybe I'm just looking for positives within this. The overall standard of the Liverpool performance was below what it needed to be in order to compete at this very top level. So, sure. Vinicius is just a problem in general. And I think he was a problem throughout, not only because he's calling for cards from Liverpool players when they barely touch him in the face, but also just because that pace is such an outlet. They are so dangerous down that side. And even though the fact they didn't have Alaba for such a long time, you saw Nacho coming on, I actually thought, that's not great. He's going to try and lock. There's going to be a sureness, a careful approach to what Liverpool are attacking down that side. Now, you almost wanted Alaba on that side to exploit, but they didn't get it. Liverpool needed that unit on the right side to work, and it did not work. And Real Madrid got ahead, and then they just have such experience and guile. They just have... They have a way of compounding the mistakes that your team make and punishing you through Benzema moments, through poor passes. Even if they aren't even playing all that well, they're a frustrating team to play. And Liverpool don't want a frustrating, high quality, well put together side that just remembered how good they are. Because in previous games, Everton, and then the game after that, you can see that when Liverpool score, the other side lose it a little bit. They go, okay, well, maybe we can't crack them in this game. But Real Madrid just have that keep on going. Carlo Ancelotti just has that, hey, I don't even think he even has that, hey, I just think he has this, yep, there we go, just keep on moving. And that's what they do. They just keep on moving. And so the Liverpool confidence that they approached the game with, the structure with which they showed the confidence and built from, began to crumble. Or at least began to disintegrate. Crumbling maybe feels a little unfair. And Liverpool don't have the hold-up play or the structure in midfield at times, maybe the strength up front also in a Darwin Núñez or a Cody Gakpo, where sometimes those guys seem to get just pushed off the ball or sort of worked away from the ball quite easily. Sometimes Bajcetic had a similar thing in midfield. The ball would sort of fizz into his feet and then would get away from him. And there are moments of what you might call naivety there from Liverpool. Now, again, you know, this is to explain why the mistakes were made, not to excuse them. Excuses at this top level are probably very hard to come by, but you get my point. And so Fabinho and his changeable nature have become so key in that midfield. In fact, Fabinho and Hendo in their changeable nature, both for different reasons, become so key in that midfield. Henderson in the first half had a great first half. He was shutting people down, confident on the ball, chin up, all the ways that you want to see Jordan Henderson playing. He looks big, he looks strong, he looks like he's a leader. In the second half, he looked a little more tired. He looked like it was a little bit, the game felt like it was getting away from Liverpool at that point. It felt like it was getting away from Henderson and Fabinho. Fabinho in the first half, always an option, always the head on a swivel. Second half, his head went back down and you felt like it was the Fabinho that had been a bit more maligned this season. That's not, again, an individual criticism of the player. It is an observation that I feel is fair. So that midfield structure needs to look a lot better. If you are going to change that midfield structure, then bring someone else on. One of the things that helps that is very often Roberto Firmino. It drops a little bit deeper. You've also got an outlet which is maybe, again, a little bit deeper in Jota. Jota didn't seem to have... felt like he didn't seem to quite know where he was meant to be. There were times where he was sort of on other people's positions. He wasn't quite running in the direction you want him to be. Salah was drifting around. Roberto Firmino was dropping deeper. Jota almost looked like he was surprised to be in certain positions. And that's not great. But let's give him time to come back. The positive I would say about Bajcetic was he became the youngest Liverpool player, I think, to play in the European Cup / Champions League. The other players are Harvey Elliott, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ian Rush, weirdly Scott Carson, and then Tommy Smith. Tommy Smith, show us your... Anyway. And Tommy Smith was obviously a Liverpool legend. So, as was Ian Rush, as is Trent Alexander-Arnold. And you would hope there are a few more Liverpool legends in that list. Sorry, Scott Carson. And then you get to the front line, those two units. When they do bring on the Firmino and the Jota, you think, okay, there is a change coming in this game. What is it that Liverpool are going to do? And then there is this, Salah becomes more isolated. He's less involved in the game. Liverpool look a lot less dangerous when he's a lot less involved, when he's trying to push it rather than the game going to him. That feels a little more like Liverpool trying to force it down that side. Bring on James Milner. And James Milner is a great player. But again, there is that criticism of, do you want to be bringing on Milner in a 5-2? Maybe not at that point. Again, not a criticism of Milner as a player. And can you even question what it is that Klopp's trying to do? Or Klopp and his team are trying to do? Well, possibly, because the bench looked quite stacked. So what do you think the logic is behind that? If you've got Keita on there, if you do have someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain who's sitting on the bench tonight for Liverpool in the Champions League, do you want someone who's going to drive forward a little bit more? Or is it indicative of where Liverpool are trying to go? Sometimes Klopp says the game is getting away from us, let's change into X or Y position. What goes on from there? Liverpool haven't been that bad in this game. Did they deserve to lose 5-2? No, there were some silly mistakes in there. But maybe that's why they deserve to lose 5-2. Moments where they switch off, moments where things just don't look very Liverpool, although they also look so Liverpool. The identity of this team is shifting, and no one has yet put a pin in it to keep it in one place. So it's kind of similar to almost rubber band effect. It's oscillating from one side to the other. Confidence to not, quality to not, concentration to not, all these Q's and C's going around. And so Liverpool didn't feel all that bad to me. I felt like Real Madrid were just Real Madrid. And you've seen that last season. They basically just Real Madrid their way through the games. I said it on the way to the final last season. These guys are just Real Madrid their way through this. But there were also a lot of Hollywood balls from Liverpool. There were also a lot of ill-thought-out possessions after the subs began to get made. And the structure and the shape began to go. So it made it a lot easier for Real Madrid to pick Liverpool off. What I would say is, there's still a second leg in this, but in order for Liverpool to go through, they would have to score 4 without reply, or 3 to take it to extra time. Do you think that is? Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Slightly overwhelmed, slightly underwhelmed, slightly positive that Liverpool are changing, and maybe the focus is on the league. But that's 3 weeks now for this tie to kind of hang, for us to mull it over a little bit. There will be initial knee-jerk reactions. There will be people saying X is out of their depth. This shouldn't have happened. That, and there should be big reactions, I'd imagine. But I'd imagine that there's also, after those 2 previous games, something that Liverpool can still build on. There's still something that Liverpool can build on against Real Madrid after the great opening they had. So, yes, they let the game get away from them. Yes, there were times where you thought, you know what, actually, Liverpool should have been 10 times better this evening. But I still feel like that team has the ceiling and the potential to do so. So, am I going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? Absolutely not. Am I frustrated? Yes. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think. If you want to get your comments in the comments below, let me know. I'd love to know what you think about Trent. I'm a huge fan of his this evening. I think his balls into the box, his wandering play, though maybe once, twice where he was gotten past, but I thought Joe Gomez's cover was pretty good. But there were too many times where the team switched off on the right side and it was poor. And Trent is part of that. And so is Jordan Henderson. And so is Joe Gomez. And Liverpool, despite looking good going forward, will not be able to paper over those cracks for the rest of the season if they play that way. Let's hope it's different in the league. Let's hope the quality difference is not on show again against a Manchester United or a Man City or someone like that too soon, or that Liverpool have learned these lessons and they're beginning to ease themselves back in. I'd like to know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love.